Morning everybody, Stan here from Rocky Creek. So today we're heading over to my buddy Paul's house. It's about 6:30 in the morning and we're actually going to be processing 10 of the Grey Broiler chickens. Let me show you what else we're going to be doing, because I'm also going to be giving you a review of the Yard Bird Plucker. So there you can see it breaks down into two main pieces. I got it loaded up here in the back of the Suzuki, and got a couple other little items here, some knives and some things that we're going to need. So yeah guys, we're going to jump in the car, we're going to take a ride over there. It's about a 30-minute drive. We're also going to get to find out how these Grey Broilers end up looking. You know, I haven't seen his birds at all. They're the same ones that we had gotten in and we split them way back when. Unfortunately, all of mine got attacked. He had 16 and he had 6 of them that did get attacked. He did do some improvements to his coop and nothing had gotten them ever since. And at the end of the day, he has 10 that are ready to go, and we're gonna go over there and help him out, and we're gonna put this plucker to the test. Love riding down the road, getting to watch the sun rise. So guys, to save on a little bit of time, I want to talk about a couple things real quick. So why did we get the Yardbird Plucker versus some other brands? To be real honest with you, it came down to really two things. Number one, it was one of the cheaper overall price tags for a plucker that would be able to handle at least, you know, good sized chickens. The second thing was I had been saving up a lot of gift certificates that I had been getting through birthdays, Christmases, to offset some of the costs. And the Yardbird is the only one that is carried by Tractor Supply. And when you're kind of doing this homesteading thing, you don't need fancy tools to be able to get the job done. The only thing that the nicer tools do is it allows you to get the job done faster. And you know, last year my buddy Paul and I, we teamed up together and we helped each other process one another's birds. And, you know, we were able to do close to 30 chickens with nothing but a standard turkey fryer to boil the feathers, a cone, and a knife. You know, we probably had total equipment invested right there, you know, you're probably about 60-70 bucks. So that's not too bad. Versus the chicken plucker cost, I think it was around $479. That's a big hit. I had about $250 worth of gift certificates that I had saved up over about the course of a year and a half, so that greatly helped. Now, I was a little conflicted because the Yardbird Plucker, there's some people who have had great success, and there's some people that have had a ton of problems. My only hopes is that over the years, Yardbird has addressed some of these issues. I will take some of these issues into concern and try to prevent them. And you know, I haven't even used it myself yet, so the first time it's getting used is on my friends, which is fine because I love to help a friend out and it'll save us time in the long run. So let's just really hope this goes well. So that is why and how I ended up with the Yardbird Plucker. The cost of it, and I had a lot of gift certificates to offset the cost, and in order to use those, it was the only one available at that store. So, but nonetheless, we'll be over there in just a little bit. I'll get it put together, let you see it, and then we're gonna get started up on these birds. All right guys, so we just arrived here over at my buddy Paul's house. Look at these beautiful speckled Sussex. I tried to get close to them, but they wouldn't let me. Ellie, you want to be a superstar? You want to be a superstar? What? Tell me. Just want love all day. So this was his mobile tractor, the same one he had last year for those that were with us when we processed last year. Man, look at those birds. Guys, look at those Grey Broilers. Hey, this one right here is massive. Guys, check those birds out. Those are some good looking birds. So I mentioned before we came over here that he had some attack his too, and pretty much whatever it was had dug under just like it did on mine. But instead of getting all the way into his, I think because his is so heavy, is that it grabbed their legs, and he said he had some that had bad wounds to the legs that they actually ended up dying from. So he ran that hardware cloth at least 12 inches out all the way around, and he said since then he hasn't had any issues with predators. So if you need to figure out a way to keep something from digging under, that seems to have worked out really well for him. But these birds look amazing. Hopefully mine will look that way when I get this second batch going. But the big thing is, how do they dress out once we get all those feathers off? So let's get that plucker unloaded, and we're gonna get ready to start getting some work done. Yeah, but I didn't know if I want to get guts and stuff slung all over it. It's a little sticky because it had like this wrap on it. Oh, nice.
So did you have to put the nipples on it, or did you already put the nipples on it?
So it made no sense. It had all of them on it, but one. And the instructions make you put that one in, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it was all I could do. I had pliers, yanking, pulling, I was shaking. The next morning, both my elbows hurt so bad. All right, guys, so this is the plucker we bought. Like I said, it's the Yardbird plucker. Got it from Tractor Supply. I think it was about $4.79, but like I said, I had about $200 and some in gift cards to offset it. And pretty much the drum comes off. You just take out these little carabiners, and it unlocks from right here, and it pops off. The only big downfall that a lot of people had to say about this plucker was it's got a magnetic safety where the two magnets have to be lined up to prevent injury. I guess so that you're not running it without the drum. And these magnets can become jarred, and if so, it won't operate properly. You won't be able to get it to turn on. So hopefully we won't run into that issue. I'm going to just do one bird at a time. It says it's rated for 2, but I'm thinking if I minimize the amount of stuff beating around in there and the weight, hopefully we can avoid that. The second issue that most people complained about is you have your motor right here, but it's got an outshoot right here where all the feathers and everything will come out of. Well, as you can see, that's very close to the motor, and it's designed that you can put this 5-gallon bucket here, but there's still a bit of a gap right here. So before I do this at my house with my birds, I'm going to try to build some kind of a shield to prevent that. But for only doing 10 birds, I'm hoping we're going to be all right today, and hopefully we won't have that issue that some other people have reported. Now, one of the features it does have is it has a built-in water ring that will pump the water in onto the birds to keep it flowing and get the feathers off easier. And then you have your on-off switch right under here. So you flick that on, that gets the drum rolling, and then the water starts shooting around like so. The only thing I do know is that we got 2 goals today. Number 1, that we save a lot of time with this chicken plucker, and number 2, that my buddy Paul doesn't end up at the hospital again chopping half his finger off. The last piece of equipment that I'll talk about before we get ready to get to work is I did pick up 2 knives specific to processing chickens this year. One is being this one. It's specific for actually cutting the neck of the chicken. That's what we found to be the most humane and quickest way to dispatch a chicken. And then lastly is this boning knife. Kind of looks similar to a fillet knife, and that's going to be for general cutting up of the chicken after we get it dispatched. So we're going to go ahead and start getting to work, and we'll go from there. No, not you, Ellie. No, Ellie. No. Alright, so we got temperature at 150. I'm just going to get it in there, swirl it around. Then you want to test the feather and see how well, so they're not pulling out. It needs more. Alright, they're starting to pull a little bit. Do just a little bit more. Alright, y'all. Moment of truth.
much nicer.
I got water on the camera. So even though we got the plucker though, there's still going to be a few feathers that you'll need to work on your own, which isn't a big deal. It's still a million times better than what we had to deal with last year. If you have a pair of needle nose pliers, that can make getting all the little tiny feathers out a little bit easier. Good thing about this too is it'll be a lot easier, because when we did the defeathering last time, it made keeping the area clean a lot more difficult. So by having all this stuff out of here already, that should make things a lot easier. Alright, so I'm not at all any expert by no means. This is only my, I guess technically my third time processing chickens, as last year we did 2 different batches in order. But I'm going to show you what I have found to be the quickest and easiest way to cut one of these up to where it's going to be ready for packaging. Now the way that I do this is not at all, you know, probably what you would do if you're going to sell it and you want it to look exactly like what a typical customer would be used to at a grocery store. But in terms of for you at home and not being as concerned with the exact replication of a grocery store chicken, this in my opinion is definitely the easiest way to do this. Don't overthink it and don't overcomplicate it. It's really not as hard as what you think. There are some other really good videos out there that shows you how to do it a little more methodical, but I find this to be very practical and very easy. So once you get all the feathers of main concern off, I like to start off with the head and neck area. All I do is grab the skin at the neck and pull it up. Cut through just enough to where it exposes the windpipe and the actual neck right here. I pull the neck through and I pull all the excess behind it right here. Bring my knife, come in right behind the neck and cut that excess skin and fat off. Now some people do save this for different traditional recipes, and that's solely up to you. Once I get to there, I can either leave the neck off, or like for instance, for his particular uses, he's going to remove the necks. I just take a knife that I don't mind getting dull, and I go into it at an angle just to kind of get through a little bit of that meat, and then where it's still attached by the bone, I just get a good grip and I corkscrew it right off. Now pretty much that's going to end what I need to do right here for right now. Now I'm going to work on the bottom half. I'm going to put slight pressure on the leg upwards and then let the knife do the work, cutting through tendons and not bone. If you're cutting something and it's not coming off very easy, then you're probably more on bone. Put that pressure, cutting tendons, letting the knife do the work. Boom, nice and clean. Now, just as we did the neck, I'm going to pull the skin up, cutting until I find a little bit of a hole. So you can see right there, I can see daylight. Once I can see daylight, I'm going to put my fingers in, keeping them towards the edges, and I'm going to just rip it, pull it open until I can get into the cavity. Now, I like to put one hand up here at the top and feed this hand in through, riding the inside of that breastbone, and I'm trying to reach to my fingers on the upper end. While doing so, I'll be moving my fingers back and forth and side to side. So while I'm inside, I'm kind of doing this number here. And once I feel like stuff's kind of loosened up pretty good, and then I start pulling. And everything starts to come out very easily. The hardest thing is typically the lungs, which is these two things right here. They will stick to the rib cage. Now, here's where I differ from a lot of people. A lot of people will cut that oil gland out from the tail, versus I just opt to remove the tail altogether. So now that I have all the organs out and there's nothing that can hurt it, I will now cut in a V down and into that tail area. Then what you end up with is everything is all together in one big piece. Now, the only thing that you really need to be careful of when you're doing this procedure, which how I do it really keeps you away from it altogether, is that right there. That is full of bile, and if I puncture that, it's going to ruin my meat. Now, from here you could save stuff, like here's the livers. You can save that if you choose to do so. This right here, I think, is the gizzard. And then that right there is the heart. Those are all pieces that you're more than welcome to save if you wanted to. From there, I just do a final inspection inside the cavity, make sure I got everything out of it, which honestly, it looks like we got it all pretty clean. So then all we got to do from there is give it a good rinse off with a hose and get it put back into the cooler. So guys, I hope that helps you out on a super simple way to remove the organs from a chicken to make it to where it's going to be almost ready to be packaged, other than just some last minute cleanup and a few feathers to be taken off. So guys, we've gotten all of them processed, gutted, and they're now ready. They're just resting in this water for right now, some ice water. Ideally, you let them rest for 24 hours in ice water. That helps the rigor come out of it, draws any leftover blood out of it, and just gives you a better final overall product. His particular situation, he doesn't want to let them rest that long, so we're going to let them rest for just a few hours. Then we're going to go ahead and rest up. We're going to eat us some lunch, just kind of have some good fellowship together, and then we're going to get these guys bagged up and packaged permanently for him. He's getting Yardbird cleaned up right now. It breaks down very easily. Overall, the Yardbird worked fantastic for us. I'm very thankful. A couple reviews had me a little nervous going into this, but it actually worked out really well. So I'll bring you more information on how that goes together and breaks down, and how we do our packaging when I process mine back at our property. Remember, I'm a beginner. I'm still fairly new to this. I'm just showing you that it is easier than what you may see online, and so therefore give it a try if you're really interested in this. Don't be scared of it, and you'll figure it out. You just gotta get your hands dirty and work it out from there. So guys, I just got back from helping my buddy Paul process all those Grey Broilers, but I want to talk about two big things before I wrap up today's video. So number one is, what was my opinions of the Grey Broilers, since mine didn't actually get to full size and his did. So first off, we were at 9 weeks today for processing. When he looked online, he saw where some people said they were ready at 9 weeks, so he decided to do his at that point in time. Of the 10 chickens that we processed, 3 of them I felt like were at a size that I would have been very pleased with, as compared to where our Red Rangers were last year at 12 weeks. Me personally, I think I would have allowed those birds to go another 2 to 3 weeks. So I think the Grey Broilers should have an anticipation processing date similar to that of the Red Ranger, which would be about 11 to 12 weeks. The health of the bird was fantastic. They were definitely a cleaner bird. They were more active. I think had those birds got to go to 12 weeks, I think they could have very well been a perfect bird. The ratio of their breast meat to their dark meat looked very equal, and for that, I think that that would definitely be a solid choice. So I do think for my Grey Broilers, I'm going to go ahead and currently plan to run them for 12 weeks before I process, and then see where that ends up putting. Now, the second thing I want to talk about in today's video, it actually wasn't at all something that I planned to discuss, but I did purchase a set of knives to use for processing this time that I didn't have last time. And of all the tools that we had, the plucker was great. The plucker was hands down a fantastic addition. But something that really stood out to me today was a set of knives that I purchased that honestly made this job so much easier than last time as well. And I want to share those with you. So these are the two knives that I mentioned earlier in this video. And these two knives right here made processing so much better. And they're not that expensive at all. That's why I want to share it with you, because these knives, if they hold up time after time, and yes, I'm going to have to sharpen them on occasion, but out the gate, super sharp and did an awesome job. So first I'll talk about this one. Now both of these knives are Dexter brand, and I purchased both of them from Stromberg Poultry, which is where I get my shrink wrap bags, and I get quite a few things related to chickens. I've been very pleased with that company, and I'll put a link to both of these knives in the description box below, because right now when I look, they're even running them on sale, so they're even cheaper than what I paid, and they already were very affordable. This knife right here, they call their sticking knife, and it's used for dispatching the chicken. It's just got this very narrow blade. The handle's got a little bit of texture, and this works really good for going across the neck when you need to try to dispatch it and bleed it out. It worked fantastic. Paul did all the dispatching of the chickens today because they were his chickens, and he was very pleased with this. It's the Dexter S128, and it was an awesome knife, very sharp, and got the job done very good. My buddy didn't slice his hand this time like he did last time, so must have been because the knife was much better. The other one is the Dexter P94820. They call this their boning knife, their standard boning knife. This one, same thing. It's got a textured plastic handle, which makes for easy cleanup. And when I was cutting up my bird, I used this knife for most of all the processing. And it was just cutting through that knife like butter. It was effortless. I was super, super pleased with this particular knife. Now the cost of these knives. When I just looked online, because I knew I didn't spend much at all, and when I just looked online, currently Stromberg has these priced down a little bit. This knife right here that we use for dispatching, I'm pretty sure was listed for around $12. This one, the boning knife, I think it was only showing like $8 on their website. And this knife was awesome. Now I think the big thing we're going to find out is as we continue to process is how long will that sharp edge hold up, and how long will it take for these knives to get dull. But out the gate, for the price of them, I was super pleased with these knives. So I wanted to make sure I shared these with you all if you're getting into processing your own chickens and raising your own meat. These were very fantastic. I can't recommend these things anymore based off of how they did for the price tag. So I wanted to make sure I shared that with you before I closed out this video. So guys, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. I hope today's video helped you. One, I wanted to share with you our experience with the Grey Broilers. And two, I wanted to let you know how well that plucker did, which it did great. And I'm going to share a lot more about that plucker next time we do our processing here on our homestead when we do those Cornish crosses. But I also wanted to share with you these knives that weren't in my original plan to share with you, but they did such a great job. I felt it was important for their price point to make sure you were aware of that in case you're in need of some good knives for using for when you're processing your chickens. So guys, I hope today was helpful to you. I appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you here real soon on our next episode. Bye guys.